Today, we are joined by Sarosh Damania. He is an aviation expert. Also, Air Vice Marshal Nitin Vaidya is joining us, an ATC expert. Well, let me come across to you, sir, the former Air Vice Marshal Nitin Vaidya, because it's important for us to understand, given the track record of Boeing, given that there was indeed a whistleblower who came out last year, complained to the FFA. Did anything happen after that, other than this man being shunted out, transferred out? Why was this red flag buried, sir?
Meghna ji, let's break this down into two different segments. One is Boeing 737 and the other is Boeing 737 MAX. Now, these are obviously the same company and it is the mother aircraft,
right,
but the technology is vastly different. So when we start comparing these two, they would not be a correct input to the viewers of our channel. What I would like to specifically bring out here is when the issues of MAX came out, 737 MAX, they were addressed not in the proper time. Obviously, the company did not address it, because of which we had another aircraft accident which could have been avoided after the first one. But having said that, they grounded all the aircraft and thereafter the rectification did take place. So the issue that actually happened because of which two aircraft crashed, that apparently has been resolved, as I understand. As far as the other aircraft crashes are concerned of 737, I must tell you that the maximum aircraft that were used in the world is Boeing 737 series only. And they have been proven airworthy for umpteen number of years by now. So I would like to give a bit of leeway to the companies that are flying this Boeing, whether they really undertook the stringent measures that they should have actually done for each flight. That we could possibly go back and discuss and review it. But as far as the Boeing 787 series is concerned, whether it be the Dash 800 or Dash 900, that is quite a latest aircraft. It has been in flying for the last about 12 years to 13 years. And that has been a proven track record, because you will see that not a single accident in terms of the way the Ahmedabad Air India 171 happened has taken place. So I would like to believe that the record of this aircraft has been worthy of what we say a Dreamliner. And I would like to believe that whatever measures were taken by Air India to keep the aircraft airworthy when where Air India was taken over by the Tatas, I think they have been quite successful and fruitful. Okay. Obviously, they have a legacy to the very fact that they had to take over the company from a government-run airline. And they had some teething problems, and they would continue, especially the interiors of the aircraft. But I suppose as far as the technical aspects of the aircraft are concerned, they would be in a flyworthy condition before the pilot, any pilot for that matter, who is taking so much of passenger load with him, risks the fact that the aircraft is not airworthy and I should not be flying it, or I should be compromising on the air safety of it. Obviously, they are not going to do that. So whichever aircraft are flying, they are airworthy, and I would like to believe that they are all fit enough to be flown, and that is why they are flying.
Well, of course, the DGCA has sought a report, a complete health report of all the flights of Air India. We are going to wait and see what really comes out of it about the flight worthiness of these airplanes. We are just hoping, given the way that this flight itself was called the uncrashable flight, that we'll have some answers soon enough. But Sarosh Damania, I must come to you because you should explain to us these visuals that we are seeing on our screens as to the moment of what really led to the impact. It's field, and these are two very experienced pilots that we are talking about. In fact, the pilot had as many as 8,100 flying hours behind him, and even the co-pilot had over 1,000 flying hours behind him. These were experienced pilots. It appears that the landing gear was still down when the plane crashed, that when they were losing altitude, the pilots were trying to gain altitude because the nose of that airplane can be seen going up. Can you tell us what are the protocols which are in place in a case such as this? What are the pilots trained for?
See, now, as we can see, of course, the pilots had tried to avoid damage as far as possible. What they were trying to do is maybe cause minimum damage to the aircraft or try to save lives of the passengers when the aircraft was crashing in. So they raised the nose up that the aircraft should not crash head on. But we also have to understand that this aircraft was flying to London. It was a very long journey, so the aircraft had a lot of fuel in it.
Yes.
So is another aspect is that as soon as the takeoff, the aircraft has crashed. So the aircraft was with a load full of fuel in it, which has aggravated the situation. This would have been a case when the aircraft was flying into the final destination. There will be less fuel on the aircraft. Maybe at the impact there would be maybe a lesser disaster. But of course, well said that once an aircraft crashes into a residential area or a building, it is bound to be a disaster. And with the aggravated fuel load on the aircraft, because of the aircraft just leaving the aircraft, that has caused the explosion or that has caused the aggravation at the incident. Otherwise, as far as the aircraft is concerned, of course, this is the first time ever a 787 is crashing, so it had a good track record. Of course, but as far as the Boeing point of view is concerned, in the recent years, a lot of things have come out about Boeing. They were also in a lot of financial stress because of delay of their aircraft under development. So they were cutting corners, of course, but there was no direct impact which was seen on a 787 till now. So of course, this will be subject to investigation, and the investigation, after it's done, we will come to know the real aspect of what failed on the aircraft. It was the issue about the engines or the avionics or the flaps on the aircraft. And of course, there are a lot of automations involved in today's 787 is the latest aircraft from Boeing. It has got all the modern machinery, all the assistant gadgets, all the modern equipment, sensors, everything which is required. So for such a fatality to happen, there has to be some major issue on the aircraft. And of course, as you already shown, the pilots were pretty experienced pilots. So, of course, pilot error can be there, not be there. Of course, it's subject to investigation. But of course, what we can see from the footage, the pilots tried their best to avoid the incident, try to raise the aircraft, that minimum damage is caused or whatever they could safeguard their passengers. They have tried their best. Of course, there was a mayday call. We don't have the black box. We don't know what is on it, what caused the incident. Of course, it will be investigated in detail. I also believe there will be a team from Boeing flying in to investigate it, because it is the first ever crash of 787. Of course, we have our own Indian Accident Bureau team, which will be conducting the investigation. So, of course, we can't speculate too much now. But as far as it is concerned, and about Air India using these aircrafts, when Air India took over, Tata took over Air India, there were about 20 787 grounded. So they have repaired a lot of aircrafts to put them into service, just that they can increase the passenger load. And there has been a global shortage of parts. So how was the repair done proper? Of course, the flight will have a minimum flying requirement of certified to fly. But there has to be seen that how was the repair done, how was it certified. Of course, a pilot is not going to fly a not certified plane. But we'll have to go through in details that is this one of the aircrafts what was grounded, 20 aircrafts which were grounded when Air India was taken over and it was repaired and put into service.
Yes.
So we don't know all that. Of course, once the investigation...
It appears it may not have been. And you're absolutely right. We don't know. There are a lot of unanswered questions. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show, so that our experts who have explained to us what may have gone wrong. But of course, we are still awaiting for a full report to come in from both Air India as well as the DGCA. Thank you so much, Air Vice Marshal Nitin Vaidya, as well as Saroj Damania, for joining us here on the show. Without a short break, don't go anywhere.